Okay, right. Okay, so let's start endocrinology. So I'll do this in two parts, today and tomorrow, and hopefully by end of next week we should be finished. Okay, my end of next week is I won't do anything in the last week. Don't worry, we'll finish off everything this week and early next week. Right? Because the rest is small areas. Okay, right. So let's start with pituitary disease. Now, when you talk about pituitary disease, okay, you can get again lists of MCQs like this. Okay, so let's talk about hypopituitarism to start. And again, you can get lists like this. Lists again. And most of the time, if you get it in a list like this, most of them are true, right? In this, everything is true, right? I have given you a list of all the causes of pituitary disease, right? Hypopituitarism. And essentially, you can actually classify causes of hypopituitarism into two, right? One, hypopituitarism can be due to mass lesions, right? Tumors, mass lesions. Or hypopituitarism can be due to various other causes, right? Without an obvious tumor or a mass lesion, right? And on the right, I have given you all the possible causes of hypopituitarism. And usually if they ask an MCQ true or false regarding the causes, most of them are true. Right. Okay. Right. Yeah, I'm just going to talk about the next MCQ. Now, what are the clinical manifestations of hypopituitarism? The second MCQ is about clinical manifestations, plus it is about management. MCQ. Now, if you take clinical manifestations of hypopituitarism, remember that most of the clinical manifestations are due to hormone deficiency. Hormone deficiency. An important MCQ point to remember is that TSH and ACTH deficiency manifests late. In growth and sex hormone deficiency early manifestation. So that is an MCQ point, remember. So if you take a clinical history of a patient with hypopituitarism, you will realize that they have growth, sort of sex hormone deficiency related manifestations first before they have the thyroid and ACTH axis being affected. That's very important. Right. Also, as I told you, some causes of hypopituitarism are due to tumors. And these tumors can have mass effects. Right. So some of the clinical manifestations might be due to mass effects. Now, for example, pituitary tumor, you can get bitemporal hemianopia. So that is a mass effect. Right. Sometimes it might invade into the cavernous sinus. That is a mass effect. So they might have manifestations of mass effects. MCQ. True or false regarding hypopituitarism? Manifestations due to adrenal hormone deficiency are the initial presentation. So initial presentation is growth and sex hormone deficiencies. ACTH axis and thyroid axis is affected late. Okay. True or false regarding, now this is most of the management. Right. True or false regarding hypopituitary? Thyroid hormone replacement is essential for life. That statement is not very good. In a way, it is. මෙතන මෙහෙම ලියා ගන්න එක. ඒක කපන්න thyroid hormone කෙනෙක් කපාගෙන මම පොඩ්ඩක් වෙනස් කරනවා statement එක. මට ඒක ඇත්තටම ඕනෙ ලුනේ growth hormone replacement is essential for life in an adult. එහෙම ලියා ගන්නකො ඉස්සෙල්ලා. Right. Now essentially ළමයි, when you are replacing a patient with hypopituitary hormones, which is the management, two things you have to replace. Steroid, yes, right? Steroid hormones, you have to, obvious, that is essential for life. Thyroid hormone replacement is also in a way essential for life. Replace right? Those two you have to replace. Right? Remember that there is also the sex hormone axis that is affected, right? Sex hormone axis that is affected. So replacement of sex hormones is also important. Right. Now, in an adult, when you have hypopituitarism, they have growth hormone deficiency also, right? ideally you should be replacing growth hormone also because it sort of improves the well-being of the patient. Growth hormone replacement can improve the well-being of a patient with hypopituitarism. Growth has already happened. Growth එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. But in an adult patient, growth hormone replacement can improve the well-being of the patient. ඇඟට fit එකක් වෙනවා growth hormone දුන්නම. Right? But that is not essential for life. Right? So growth hormone, ඔය ඔක්කොම hormones අතුරින් growth hormone in an adult is not essential. In an adult, remember, in a pediatric person it's different. But growth hormone replacement in adults is not essential, but it can sort of kick එකක් දෙනවා. It makes the patient feel better when you replace growth hormone in a hypopituitary patient. Right. Steroid, thyroid දෙකම අනිවාර්යෙන් you have to replace. And ඔය කතාව දන්නව නේද? Remember, before replacing thyroid hormones, you have to replace steroid hormones. Otherwise, you can trigger Addison's crisis. Okay, right. Okay. Now the fourth statement is true, but that is a bit too much for you. Right? That is a well-known phenomenon that when you start replacing steroid hormones, it can unmask diabetes insipidus, which is a posterior pituitary hormone. Okay. Now the last statement is important. These people have sex hormone axis hormones deficient in either. But remember, this is common sense. Just because you give them testosterone or estrogen, it doesn't restore their fertility. Right? In order to restore fertility, you have to go from the top, right? Replace the GnRH, FSH, LH, right from the top. Right? So remember, androgen replacement doesn't replace fertility, doesn't restore fertility. Fertility restore karanna නම් you need to start right at the top, the GnRH, FSH, LH, එතනින්නම් පටන් ගන්න ඕනේ. The only thing that androgen replacement does, it develops a secondary sexual characteristics. These people can get an erection, males can get an erection, right? ඒවා තමයි වෙන්නේ. Right? But it doesn't restore fertility. Fertility replacement, it's far more complicated, and you need to go for GnRH, FSH, LH. Right? So that is just a quick, basic approach to how you would replace hormones in a patient with hypopituitarism. So steroid, thyroid hormones are essential. Steroid before thyroid. Androgen does not replace fertility, it doesn't restore fertility. And then also remember, growth hormone replacement is not essential. But it sort of improves the quality of life and the well-being of patients when you give it, right? There's a bit of an effect on that. Right. Any questions up to now? So I've said that here. Therapy improves body composition. And in order to replace fertility, you have to use pulsatile, GnRH, and sometimes HCG also. It's a very complicated area, right? And that's specialist endocrinology. Right. And remember, in order to test hypopituitarism, you have to test the individual hormone axis. So you have to stress the thing out to see if it produces any hormones, right? So the basic principle there is just stressing the endocrine gland out to see if it can produce hormones, right? If the pituitary is gone, however much you stress it, it doesn't produce any hormones. Right? Now, for example, insulin tolerance test glucose binding. So that stresses out the pituitary to produce growth hormone, right? Because as you know, growth hormone production is stressed out by hypoglycemia. So you stress the axis out to test if there is any poddak hari tiyanawada kiyala බලන්න. Right. Any questions about hypopituitarism? Okay. So let's go to question number 3. True or false regarding acromegaly. So acromegaly ගැන අපි කතා කරන්නේ. Now acromegaly, as you know, the MCQ වලට නිතරම අහන දේවල්. හරි, endocrinology is a very important area. Here you have a patient with acromegaly in the picture, and remember acromegaly ලොකුයිනේ. It is often due to a pituitary tumor, which is a macroadenoma. ලොකු tumor එකක්. Macroadenoma එකක් නිසා තමයි හැදෙන්නේ. macroadenoma. And remember that these macroadenomas that produce acromegaly by secreting growth hormone, growth hormone. These macroadenomas can also produce a bit of prolactin, right? Prolactin secretion එකක් එන්න පුළුවන් මේව වලින්. හරි prolactin secretion එකක් එන්න පුළුවන්. Right. Okay. True or false regarding acromegaly කියලා මෙතන තියෙනවා මේ the first three things are all manifestations. බලන්නකො මේක නේද? Now remember, when there is growth hormone excess and acromegaly, right, there are certain systemic manifestations. All of you know how to recognize it on a picture in දැක්ක ගමන් අඳුර ගන්න. මෙතන important thing is it causes diabetes and insulin resistance because growth hormone excess increases glucose. That is why mechanisms that increase glucose, right? So hyperglycemia, insulin resistance ඇති වෙනවා. But MCQ වලට විශේෂයෙන් අහන ඒවා ටිකක් තමයි there is visceral enlargement, right? Cardiac enlargement, cardiomyopathy, right? ඒ වගේ දේවල් එනවා. Also, visceral enlargement. That is an important thing MCQ වලට. When the patient's soft tissue grows because of excess growth hormone, they get obstructive sleep apnea, airway obstruction, ඒවා සියල්ලම එනවා. Right. අපි බලමු. MCQ proximal myopathy is a feature. Yes, right? So they get proximal myopathy, entrapment neuropathy because of soft tissue enlargement. Carpal tunnel syndrome is a very common manifestation of acromegaly. MD short case patient with acromegaly, bilateral carpal tunnel surgery scars, right? So they have entrapment neuropathies. Right. Carries a high risk of colorectal cancer because they have a higher risk of GI adenomas. And when you're managing patients with acromegaly, you do routine colonoscopies to see if they develop cancer. Right? So routine colonoscopies, you do routine colonoscopies to see if they develop any cancers of the colon. Right? That's an important thing to look out for. And then remember, these people die most of the time because of coronary artery disease. There's an accelerated coronary artery disease risk in patients with acromegaly. If you don't do anything about it, they get accelerated coronary artery disease. And one of the main reasons they die is because of a coronary artery disease. Now, for acromegaly, we usually do a screening test. So if you have a patient who looks like acromegaly, you do a screening test, and that is the IGF-1. IGF-1 tamai screening test ekata පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Hari. IGF-1 is the screening test. Right. To confirm, now remember, the pituitary is producing a lot of growth hormone. Massive amounts of growth hormone. Growth hormone is converted to IGF-1 and the levels will be high. In order to diagnose growth hormone excess, you need to try to suppress it and see if it suppresses. Right? Try to suppress the growth hormone and see if it suppresses. Right? If it's a physiological thing, it will suppress lasanata. But if it's acromegaly, it will never suppress. The growth hormone levels will never suppress. So how do you suppress growth hormone levels? You do oral glucose tolerance test. Glucose dila balana. Glucose growth hormone link karane glucose වැඩි කරන එක. So there is a negative feedback. So when you give glucose, oral glucose diabetes වලට කරන්නේ oral glucose tolerance test එක දීලා අපි බලනවා growth hormone level එක බහිනවද කියලා. Whether it can suppress growth hormone levels. That is one of the confirmatory tests. Right? Confirmatory tests. Right? This is one of the confirmatory tests that we use. Okay? Right. Fine. Okay. Now, this is also very important. When you are managing acromegaly, when you are managing it, surgical treatment is the treatment of choice. So remember, surgery is the best for acromegaly. There is, of course, other medical management also. Octreotide is an example, which is somatostatin analog. Some people use growth hormone receptor blockers. Pegdistomant and dopamine agonists, bromocriptine, which is particularly helpful in getting the prolactin level down. Prolactin bromocriptine. So remember, ලියාගන්න තරුවක් දාලා for acromegaly, surgical management is the treatment of choice. Medical management උත් පාවිච්චි කරනවා, but that is usually as a bridge. යන පාරේ surgery කරන්න යන කාලේ bridge කරන්න තමයි we do medical management. Octreotide is commonly used, but these newer things like pegvisomant is also available, which blocks the growth hormone receptor. Sometimes we use radiotherapy when the tumor is invading around a lot to shrink it before surgery. Right? Kamare cavernous sinus එක අස්සට යනවා, ඒවා shrink කරගන්න we might do radiotherapy. So these are some important MCQ points. Hari. Any questions about acromegaly? ඔයාගේ ඉතින් MCQ එකක් අහන්න පුළුවන්. හරි famous ඔය endocrine වල ඔයා අහන ඒවා true false MCQs. Right. Okay, right. Then we go on to prolactin. Right, prolactin. දැන් මෙතන මම ලොකු ලයිස්තුවක් දීලා තියෙනවා hyperprolactin, causes of hyperprolactinemia. හරි, ඒ අනුව මම හිතන්නේ මේ MCQ එක වලට ගහගන්න පුළුවන්. Right, and remember we already talked about a cause of hyperprolactinemia, acromegaly, right, because these tumors can produce and also obviously you have prolactin secreting tumors also, right, prolactin secreting. ඔය එකපාරක් ඔය MCQ වලට එහෙම මේ බෙහෙත් එහෙම ලයිස්තුවක් දීලා මේක පොඩ්ඩක් බලාගන්න මම හිතන්නේ අවුරුදු දෙකකට විතර කලින් මේවයින් prolactin වැඩි වෙනවද අනම්මන මොකද ලැබ්බක් අහලා තිබ්බා. So that is, oh, that was a best response එන්නේ මොකක් හරි calcium channel block එකක් පටන් අරගෙන prolactin වැඩි වෙච්ච කතාවක් තිබ්බේ. I thought that was unfair because that's a rather niche area. But you remember calcium channel blockers can cause increased prolactin. Right? And hypothyroidism, not hyperthyroidism. Right? Hypothyroidism and not hypothyroidism. Right. And also remember that the physiology වලට කරන්නේ pituitary stalk එකෙන් තමයි ඔය මේ dopamine එන්නේ, right, that suppresses prolactin secretion. So when you have the pituitary stalk compression also prolactin secretion can increase. So these are some of the causes of hyperprolactinemia, some of the causes. Common කියලා ගන්න මේවා නිතරම අපි දකිනවා physiological level එක එක ඒවා දකිනවා. But also tumors like prolactinomas can also produce. And remember, these are galactorrhea is the common manifestation with some sexual dysfunction, reproductive dysfunction. That's common that you see in patients with hyperprolactinemia. Any questions about that MCQ?
So cimetidine වැඩි කරනවද prolactin? අර මේ table එකේ දීලා නැහැ.
දීලා නැහැ. Cimetidine මම දාලා නැත්තේ H2 receptor blockers එකේදී. Cimetidine වැඩි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ නැහැ අපි දැන්. ඒක හින්දා ඒක ගැන I have never used cimetidine in my life. It is not used. I've never seen it being used. Ranitidine වගේව පාවිච්චි කරනවා, but cimetidine has gone out of fashion now. හරි නේද?
හරි.
හරි. Okay, right. හරි. ඊගාවික බලමු. Now the next thing is prolactinomas. තමයි මුලින්ම මට අපරයක් දෙන්න ළමයි. Sorry. Hi. Okay, right. Now, the next thing is about prolactinomas. Prolactinomas are prolactin secreting tumors. Now, remember that prolactinomas can be microadenomas or macroadenomas. Based on statistics, prolactinomas are mostly microadenomas. Right? Mostly microadenomas. Eka harini? Fine. Prolactinomas are common in females, clearly, right? Common in females. Eka mataka tiyaga, very important. Now remember, the size corresponds with the prolactin levels, right? So prolactin level lekanu we can guess the size. Now this is something that I don't think you need to know. Samanin macro loku ewala prolactin 2000කට වගේ වැඩි, right? Usually podi level around 20 to 50 ඒ range එකේ තියෙන්නේ. හරි? එච්චර දේවල් නම් ඔයගොල්ලෝ අහන්න ගන්න නැහැ. But only thing that you need to remember is that there is a direct relationship between the size of the tumor and the prolactin level. And usually microadenomas වලින් ඇති Paisal asked that question usually 2200 අතර when if it's a macroadenoma usually 2500 to 5000 ඒ range එකේ තියෙනවා higher, right? So that is important. ඕනනම් මතක තියාගන්න. ඉතරම ලොකු වට ඕනේ නැහැ. Right. Okay, that is that. හරි. So this is මෙතන MCQ විමානයක් තියෙනවා මේ size කාගේද වැඩි කාගේද අඩු වගේ අහන MCQ වල උත්තර ගහ ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ දැන්. හරි. Now unlike acromegaly ළමයි in prolactinomas medical management is the best. අපි acromegaly को අනිවාර්යයෙන් ටියුමර් එක අයින් කරන්න. If the tumor is big and invading into surrounding structures, we might do radiotherapy. ඒවත් අපි කියවනේ නේ. In this situation, in prolactinomas, medical management is much better. Right? And commonly used drugs are obviously dopamine agonists which suppress prolactin levels, bromocriptine, cabergoline වගේ දේවල්. Right? ඒ ටික තමයි අපි කරන්නේ. Rarely you do surgery for various indications that I have mentioned. Failure of medical management තමයි. Right? And sometimes massive tumors are, right? But you try to do medical management first in the first instance. It's important. Unlike acromegaly, where taking the tumor out is the most important thing to do. Right? And radiotherapy is usually not very effective. Surgical removal never, medical management. Commonly undergo malignant change, right? And increase in size during pregnancy, it can happen. Yeah, that's right. They can. Or the pituitary generally enlarges during pregnancy. Very generally. Right. Right. Okay. Right. So now that is the pituitary done. Right. So let's go to thyroid now. Any questions up to now? We talked about hypopituitarism, acromegaly and prolactin related stuff, which are the common MCQ topics. Right, again, a list of causes. These are all drug-induced hypothyroidism. Remember, amiodarone can cause hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. The mechanisms are slightly different. Sarcoidosis වලින් ඕන ලබ්බක් වෙනවා SLE වගේ තමයි හැමතැනම ඔක infiltrate වෙනවා granulomatous tissue, right? Pendred syndrome is a congenital sort of thing with deafness and hypothyroidism and infection, as you know, thyroiditis වගේ. So එතලා ගහ ගන්න පුළුවන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මේවයි list වල දෙනවා true, හරිද? And I have given you a list of causes here in this slide. Again, use these slides before you go for the exam and you will definitely pass. I can guarantee that. හරි ඔක්කොම ඕනේ ටික ඕනටත් වැඩිය තියෙනවා මේවල. Right, so this is the typical sort of appearance of hypothyroidism. You might see the very typical faces, the periorbital puffiness, the loss of the lateral 1/3 of the eyebrows. Those are very typical of hypothyroidism. And you can see that there is a dramatic improvement when you treat them also, right? If you compare the figure on the left and the figure on the right, the pale skin, the puffy face, ඔක්කොම ලස්සනට පේනවා. Right. Now, this is a very famous MCQ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ papers ගත්තොත් අනිවාර්යයෙන් මේක අහනවා. Sure. දැන් හැමදාම වගේ දෙන එකක් මේක. Clinical manifestations of hypothyroidism. Here we are looking at the unusual one. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ටම කියන්න පුළුවන් hypothyroidism තියෙන මනුස්සයන්ට වැඩිපුර නිින්ද යනවා. නම්මන hoarse voice, goes to sleep easily, poor mentation, ඔක්කොම ටික හරිනේ නේද? ඒක අපි කතා දන්නව දේවල්නේ. But these are some unusual manifestations and I have given them in this list here. මේකේ මේ නිතරම MCQ වලට අහන ඒවා ටික තමයි මම මේ MCQ එක ඇතුලේ දීලා තියෙන්නේ. හරි? So hypothyroidism can cause pericardial effusions and pleural effusions also. දෙකම ඉන්න පුළුවන්. Pericardial, pleural දෙකම ඉන්න පුළුවන්. And I have seen somebody coming with cardiac tamponade due to a massive pericardial effusion in hypothyroidism. Massive. TSH එක මං හිතන්නේ ඒ මනුස්සෙන් 300ක්ද කොහෙද? Remember the reference age is 0.5 to 5. TSH එක 300 500ක්ද මන් දන්නේ නැහැ. මම දැකලා තියෙන වැඩිම massive pericardial effusion, pleural effusion. Hypernatremia නෙවෙයි ළමයි, hyponatremia, and that is a SIADH like mechanism. SIADH like mechanism. There are some interesting other lab findings. elevated CPK, they have proximal myopathy, elevated CPK, and their triglycerides are elevated, right? Total cholesterol, triglycerides are elevated, right? And they can also have, as you know, a normocytic or mainly a macrocytic type anemia, and that liver functions also can slightly go off. AST. MCQ වලට අහලා තියෙන දේවල් තමයි මේ slide එකේ දාලා තියෙන්නේ. හරි AST චුට්ටක් වැඩි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Right. Now there are interesting neurological manifestations also in hypothyroidism, especially this ataxia, dementia, right? And all of you know that they have a slow relaxing ankle jerk. So බලන්න මෙතන මේකේ cerebral ataxia is true. They get a cerebral ataxia, and also they get slow relaxing ankle jerks. Other neurological things are things like carpal tunnel syndrome, even more common in patients with hypothyroidism. Right. ඕක මේ නිතරම වගේ අහන එකක් ඔය පතන්දරේ හරිද? හරි. Right. Now the next MCQ is sort of talking about management of hypothyroidism. Replacement therapy with thyroxine. I'm going to take you through this MCQ and we can discuss the management of. So if you are a patient with hypothyroidism, obviously you want to give them thyroid hormone. So it's lifelong usually. Replacement thyroxine is lifelong. Now you have to be very careful when you're starting thyroxine. There is a very fixed dose of starting it. But essentially what you need to remember, if you have ischemic heart disease, ekapata hose gala thyroxine patan ganne, because if you have a very high dose, it might trigger off ischemia, heart gahenna ganna, and it might cause a precipitation of acute coronary syndrome. So in a patient with ischemic heart disease, you start slow and increase, right? But otherwise there is a dose calculation, but that is too much for you. Eva dana ganna onne. Hari. Okay. Right. So, now remember, hypothyroidism monitoring is best done by the TSH. TSH. This gives the most sensitive measurement of thyroxine. And the treatment response, thyroxine treatment response. Hari. දැන් මෙන්න මෙහෙම දෙයක්වත් මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ ළමයි. Right, so අපි මේ කතා කරපු points ඔක්කොම, so අමිතර මම dose එක දීලා තියෙනවා. right, usually 1.6 microgram per kg තමයි dose එක. හරි, ඒක තමයි dose එක. Right. Now the last thing to remember about thyroxine replacement, it takes time for the clinical effect to take place, usually about 4 to 6 weeks, because thyroxine has a very long half-life. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks for things to normalize. Other thyroxine TSH so it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to re-establish balance, right? And obviously higher doses are required in pregnancy, right? Basic points. So TSH is how you monitor. Dose usually lifelong treatment, right? And then be careful because it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for the response to occur. Right. Now, myxedema coma is a particularly bad, severe hypothyroid state where basically you have to treat it as an emergency, and they get hypoglycemia, which is very common. Hyponatremia is very common, and how you treat it is preferably with either intravenous T3, if you have that available, it's not always available, or T4, right? Loading doses of T4. Then IV hydrocortisone is also used, right? Okay. Right. So that is about hypothyroidism. So a little bit about the treatment with thyroid hormones, and also some basic important clinical management points about thyroxine therapy. Any questions about hypothyroidism?
Say myxedema coma ke oral preparation could then be
oral T4 loading doses then pulwa. So either IV T3 ඒක ගොඩක් වෙලාට නැහැ, but or very high doses of T4 orally.
Thank you, sir.
Then moving on to thyrotoxicosis. Again, list එකක් තියෙනවා මෙතන, right? But let's focus on Graves' disease. Right? Let's focus on Graves' disease. මේ MCQ එක අවුලක් නැහැ, ගහ ගන්න පුළුවන් මේ වගේ ඒවා. Let's focus on Graves' disease. Now, Graves' disease, දැන් මේක පටල ගන්න එපා. Graves' disease is a cause of hypothyroidism. Right? It's a cause of hypothyroidism. What happens in Graves' disease is that there are TSH receptor antibodies, yes, but they are TSH receptor stimulating antibodies. TSH receptor stimulating antibodies in the thyroid gland. So they start producing, the gland starts pushing out more thyroxine. TSH receptor antibodies to hurry, ideally TSH receptor stimulating antibodies and not blocking antibodies. And Graves' disease can cause hyperthyroidism. දැන් මෙතන තමයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ පටල ගන්නේ. හරිද? But sometimes දැන් මේක තමයි unusual day. Graves' disease might be euthyroid. Patient's thyroid status might be normal or sometimes hypothyroid also. ඔය සමහර වෙලාවට Graves' disease autoantibody disease නේ. එතකොට එක එක 아무තු වෙන antibodies උත් තියෙනවා. Right? Like blocking antibodies or thyroid cells destroying antibodies උත් තියෙනවා එකට. So it's a පටල ගන්න එපා ළමයි. Graves' disease හැම වෙලේම thyrotoxicosis එන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. Right? Sometimes they might be euthyroid, sometimes they might be hypothyroid because there can be coexistence of thyroid gland destroying or blocking antibodies also. හරි. ඒතකොට ඒක MCQ වලට අහන්න පුළුවන්. හැම වෙලේම thyrotoxic නෙවෙයි මේගොල්ලෝ. Now, Graves' disease patients are supposed to have certain specific signs on examination. Eye signs are supposed to be quite sensitive and specific to Graves' disease. Thyroid acropathy. Thyroid acropathy. මෙතන මේ figure එකේ තියෙන්නේ clubbing, onycholysis වගේ දේවල්. That is also supposed to be more specific for Graves' disease. And also you see on the right side, lower picture is a picture of pretibial myxedema. That is also known to occur in Graves' disease, pretibial myxedema. So eye signs, finger signs, acropathy, nail disease, and pretibial myxedema. So TSH receptor antibodies, yes, are implicated in the path. They can have other antibodies also, destroying antibodies, blocking antibodies, but predominantly TSH receptor stimulating antibodies. And most of them become thyrotoxic. But that is not always the case. MCQ Pretibial myxedema is a feature, yes. And thyroid, because it's autoimmune disease, it can coexist with other autoimmune diseases like pernicious anemia. Vitiligo is another common association. Vitiligo. And I've already told you that they can get a hypothyroidism, and also actually the hypothyroidism is driven by things like TPO antibodies. Right, which go and attack a certain cell or an enzyme in the thyroid gland. So remember, Graves' disease can have many thyrotoxicosis. They can be euthyroid or sometimes hypothyroid because they can have various other types of antibodies that block or destroy the thyroid gland. Also, නැත්නම් මේ ඔක්කොම වැරදි එක මොකද්ද බං මේ Graves' disease වල hypothyroidism එකක් කියන්නේ නැහැ කියලා හිතුවොත් ඒක වැරදි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Okay. Now there are certain important points that another thing to mention is that smoking is associated with Graves' disease, especially it worsens eye disease. Right. Okay. Right. True or false regarding the clinical and laboratory manifestations of Graves' disease? Yes. දැන් මේක Graves' disease විතරක් නෙවෙයි ළමයි. Any thyrotoxicosis වල එන්න පුළුවන් ඒවා. Again, අමුතු ඒවා ටිකක් මම අහලා තියෙනවා. හරි? Yeah. හරි. දැන් මේක පොඩ්ඩක් බලා ගන්න. Right. Graves' disease can cause alopecia. That's true. One of the common cardiovascular problems, as you can see in this table, is AF, right? AF, and obviously worsening of angina and heart failure. AF is actually common in elderly people. Thyrotoxicosis, elderly people, AF is common. Then what thyroxine causes, it's very active. Thyroxine increases your activity. So it resorbs bone. Hypercalcemia can occur. Hypercalcemia can occur. Neurological manifestations, thyrotoxic මිනිස්සු are very fidgety, they are hyperreflexic. Another thing they can present with is periodic paralysis. Periodic hypokalemic, periodic ඔය අමුතු ඒවා තමයි අහන්නේ විභාගෙ. හරි අමුතු ඒවා. ඒකත් හරි. Another interesting one that we love to ask is thyrotoxicosis can present with a cholestatic hepatitis. Cholestatic hepatitis. So it can cause cholestatic jaundice. Cholestatic jaundice. හරි ඒකත් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම කියන ඒවා මතකතුව ලියා ගන්න. තරු දාලා. හරි. ඒවා අහන්න දේවල් නිතරම. මම දන්නේ මේ පාර හයිද කියලා මොකද සාමාන්‍ය ඉතින් අපි කැමති අහන්න ඕවා. ඔයගේ අමුතු ඒ වලින් තමයි අපි අල්ලගන්නේ ඕගොල්ලෝ. හරි. cholestasis. හරි. මේක වැරද්දක් නෑ ඉතින් කලින් අහන ප්‍රශ්න ටික කියා ප්‍රශ්නේ කියන්නේ නැහැ obviously. නමුත් මොන වගේ දේවල්ද අහන්නේ කියලා ඔබලා දැනගන්න බෑ. හරි. Okay. Right. So these are some of the important things you need to remember. Right. Now, that there are certain signs which are supposed to be more specific for Graves' disease. Right? Right? And thyroid ophthalmopathy is supposed to be specific. In the little but supposed to be specific for Graves' disease. Now, make it MCQ about thyroid ophthalmopathy. Thyroid ophthalmopathy. Right. Remember, the earliest feature of thyroid ophthalmopathy MCQ is swelling of the extraocular muscles. And this is detected on MRI. But if you were to do an MRI, you would see earliest feature would be enlargement or swelling of the extraocular muscles. That is one of the earliest features. Right? It අමතරව other eye signs you know lid lag ගණන් ඔය කතන්දර ටික ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා. Now it's well known that treatment for hyperthyroidism can transiently worsen eye signs. Right? They can transiently worsen eye signs. Okay, that's a well known phenomenon. The mechanism is slightly complex, but the mechanism is actually this: when you give thyroxine. So in hyperthyroidism, when you block thyroxine, TSH එක පාට වැඩි වුණ ගමන් because the TSH is suppressed in hyperthyroidism. When you stop the thyroxine production, transiently causes a spike in the TSH. And that's supposed to be related to worsening of eye signs. TSH එක අඩු වෙලා තිබුණ එක පාට වැඩි වෙච්ච ගමන් eye signs get worse. Right? That's one of the mechanisms. But as a point, remember, when you're treating hyperthyroidism with various anti-thyroid drugs, the eye signs might get worse. Right, make up a various investigation findings. Right, now how do you treat Graves' disease? Graves' disease, there are 3 treatment options. And this is not only for Graves' disease, any cause of thyrotoxicosis. These are the 3 things that we do. Number 1, anti-thyroid drugs. Carbimazole is one example. Propyl thiouracil is another example. Carbimazole, propyl thiouracil. Anti-thyroid drugs. Number 2, radioactive iodine therapy. Radioactive iodine therapy. Number 3, surgery. These are the 3 common options we use for managing Graves' disease. Anti-thyroid drugs, radiotherapy, and surgery. Radiotherapy, radioactive iodine therapy, and surgery. You start off with medical management, then radioactive iodine, and then surgery. Right? Okay. So little facts about carbimazole and propyl thiouracil. So how does carbimazole work? It inhibits the thyroid peroxidase antibody, which is one of the important steps in generating thyroid hormone levels, right? So it inhibits the thyroid peroxidase again. So it essentially antibody නෙවෙයි. Peroxidase enzyme. Antibody නෙවෙයි. Thyroid peroxidase enzyme කියලා එතන හදාගන්න. Right? So it inhibits that enzyme. That is the enzyme that produces thyroid hormones. It also are autoantibody ගොඩකුත් තිබ්බන්න ළමයි නේද ඇඟේ. Thyroid receptor stimulating antibodies වගේ ඒවත් අඩු වෙනවා when you give them carbimazole propyl thyroxine. ඒකත් ලියාගන්න තරුවක් දාලා එතනත් MCQ අහන්න. So it actually reduce the antibody levels also directly. Additionally මේකත් තරුවක් දාලා මේකත් MCQ වලට අපි කැමති අහන්න එකක්. Additionally PTO has an action that carbimazole does not have. PTO has the ability to inhibit the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. As you know, when there is T4, it is peripherally converted to T3, which is a more active form. Propyl thyroxine can inhibit that conversion. It's an additional effect to carbimazole. Right. Now, the problem with antithyroid medication is that I told you before also that the half-life of thyroxine is 4 to 6 weeks. So, so it is about a week. Sorry, half-life of thyroxine is about a week. So, it takes time for the patient to become euthyroid, about 4 to 6 weeks, better at about 8 weeks, right? And here, the with hypothyroidism monitoring the TSH. Hyperthyroidism is better monitored using free T4 levels. Treatment monitoring is better done using free T4 levels, where TSH can remain suppressed for a while. Kapata suppression එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් අයින් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. පොඩ්ඩක් ඉස්සෙල්ලා ස්පයික් එකක් එනවා, but normal වෙන ටිකක් කල් යනවා. So free T4 is a better way of monitoring. ඒතරේ මතක තියාගන්න ඔය MCQ වලට විතරම අහනවා. TSH is better to monitor hypothyroidism. Free T4 is better to monitor hyperthyroidism. Right. Okay. Now, because of the delay in onset of action, we bridge the antithyroid drugs with propranolol. Propranolol වලටත් පුළුවන් අර T4 T3 වෙන එක නවත්තන්න. Right? So like propyl thyroxine, propranolol also has that effect. And it is used for symptomatic management when there are palpitations or reduce. Right. මෙන්න මේ slide එක බොහොම වැදගත්. මේ හැම දෙයක්ම MCQ වලට අහලා තියෙනවා ළමයි. All the side effects of antithyroid drugs. All the side effects මෙතන තියෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම අහන්න පුළුවන් මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ තමයි agranulocytosis. And also remember, propyl thyroxine is safer in pregnancy. Carbimazole is associated with a fetal malformation, a scalp malformation actually called anaplasia cutis. Anaplasia cutis. And I told you before that you can get worsening of eye signs when you are treating them. Right. True or false regarding treatment of Graves' disease? Carbimazole is contraindicated in pregnancy. Eka parissameng contraindicated naha. There is a propyl thyroxine is better than carbimazole. It is a less incidence of fetal malformations. Dekama api පාවිච්චි කරනවා pregnancy වල. The problem is propyl thyroxine is not freely available always. එතන තමයි පොඩි කොස්සකට තියෙන්නේ. But carbimazole, there is a slight risk of fetal anaplasia cutis, but it's still used. Antithyroid drugs can cross into the breast milk, can cause thyrotoxicosis in the neonate, breastfeeding neonate. Right. Worsening of dysthyroid drugs is observed in patients with TSH spike. The TSH is suppressed, you get a bit of a TSH spike when you block the thyroxine production, and that can cause transient worsening of eye signs. I told you, the thyroxine half-life is about a week, so it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for a benefit, up to 8 weeks for benefit. So you bridge that because they have palpitations, anxiety. You bridge them with propranolol, which is a beta blocker. Right? Which is a beta blocker. Right. Okay. So these are all about antithyroid drugs. හරිද බලන්න? මම radioactive iodine ගැන ඊගාවට කියන්න. So radioactive iodine බලන්න, there are two important things. Right. When using radioactive iodine, it is much better if they are euthyroid. So you give them some treatment with antithyroid drugs and then go for radioactive iodine කියලා. The problem here is when you whack the gland with iodine, radioactive iodine, the problem is that when the cells die, the සෛල මැරෙනවා ළමයි. iodine දාලා අපි radioactive iodine දුන්න ගමන් the cells die. When the cells die, they begin to release a lot of thyroxine. They release thyroxine. And also iodine can also get incorporated into production of thyroxine. So transiently, what can happen is there can be transient worsening of hypothyroidism. Transient worsening එකක් එන්න පුළුවන්. Transient worsening. When you give radioactive iodine, සෛල මැරෙන ගමන් it releases all the produced thyroxine, right? Also, iodine can get incorporated into thyroxine also, right? That is the mechanism. Iodine is the one that produces thyroxine, one of the constituents. So you can get transient worsening. So පස්වෙනි statement එක ඒකයි කියන්නේ. Transient worsening of hypothyroidism is known to occur. But remember ළමයි so euthyroid better. The common problem, as you know, obviously මූලික කල්පනා කරන මනුස්සයෙක් pregnancy breastfeeding වලදී ඔක බෑ කියලා තේරෙනවා. And surgery they would have taught you in much more detail than this. එක regimes තියෙනවා. ළඟට යන්න බෑ කාගේවත් ළමයින්ගේ හැමෙම. සති දෙක තුනක් යනකම් ඒක. The problem with radioactive iodine, there is no way of calculating a dose. And this frequency, very important MCQ point. There is no standard dose calculation here, and they commonly result in hypothyroidism, right? Commonly result in hypothyroidism. And even with radioactive iodine, you can get worsening of eye size. The mechanism is slightly different here. Right? So, points the main problem, hypothyroidism is very common because we don't know the dose. Gland right? So hypothyroidism is very, very common. Right. So Sajid, yes, Karmasu, even though it blocks the antibody production, it still worsens the eye signs because there are many mechanisms behind it. Right? And some of them are less understood, well understood than others. Okay, and I think Achal has asked a very important thing. Eye signs වලට මොනවද කරන්න කියලා ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති වෙනවනේ. What is the management of eye signs? That's a very difficult thing to answer. Sometimes eye signs go away when you treat the thyrotoxicosis with antithyroid drugs. Ultimately, eye signs will get better. But some people, you need to use immunosuppressants. And sometimes a monoclonal antibody, biologic to control the eye signs. So you need an immune suppressive mechanism sometimes to control the eye signs. And some people have surgery also because it's so bad. Right? So eye signs, Graves' eye signs are very difficult to manage. A proportion of patients improve after treatment of thyrotoxicosis, but a small proportion of them require steroids, immunosuppression, biologics, and sometimes surgery to manage. Right. Okay. Now let's talk about a few MCQs. MCQ True or false regarding the treatment of Graves' disease? Carmazole inhibits the peripheral conversion of T4 to 3T. PTU, propyl tyrosine. That is a special effect of propyl tyrosine. Because TSH levels can remain suppressed for a period of time, free T4 is the better way of monitoring response. False. Clinical benefit of antithyroid drugs is apparent within 21 the thyroxine has a long half-life. It stays in the circulation for a long time. So it takes about 6 half-lives for it to clear off. So it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Agranulocytosis, I told you, remember that is an important side effect of antithyroid. Even with propyl tyrosine, you do see agranulocytosis. And you'll be very careful, and we monitor the full blood count every weekly or 2 weekly when you're starting somebody on these drugs, right? And you instruct the patient about coming to hospital if they develop fever and things like that, right? Relapse rates of around 50% are observed in patients on antithyroid drugs. As far as I can remember up to date, that is correct, right? Yeah, so 30 to 50% remission antithyroid drugs. About 50% relapse rate. I think half choice chance I had it. So patients who don't respond to treatment and get recurrent episodes, relapses, those are the patients that sort of go for radioactive iodine therapy. Right. Okay. Right. Now, yes, so Bikum, yes, you're right. P2 has a quicker, better response compared to carbimazole. That's a very good observation, yes, because it inhibits the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. It does have a better initial response. That is right. Take a hurry. Right. So these are some MCQs on thyroid function test. So free T4 is the investigation of choice in hypernatremia. TSH. I'm available TSH. Now, there are some odd thyroid reports that you can get sometimes when you have illness. Chronic illness, they get sick euthyroid. So they get low thyroid hormones with low or low normal TSH. Low or low normal TSH. Right? A similar pattern can be seen when there is a pituitary problem. Pituitary TSH adu, T4 adu. Right? So pituitary sometimes sick thyroid pattern. So similar pattern. In the pituitary, when there is pituitary insufficiency, low TSH, low T4. In sick thyroid also, there is sort of pituitary suppression, which have illness, fever or some chronic illness. TSH T4 right. Remember, in pregnancy, you have to always measure free thyroid hormones. Free thyroid hormones, balanno. I'm a believer. Free, never total, because that can be falsely elevated. Right. So TSH is increased in patients with pituitary disease. Never TSH adu TSH adu. Right. Yeah, the last one is not important. A couple of that, make a postgraduate. Where are the life? Right. Any questions about thyroid then? Plus, we did hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism. Focus a little bit on unusual manifestations of hypothyroidism, about thyroxine treatment, important MCQ points on that, and thyrotoxicosis, Graves' disease, and special emphasis on Graves' disease. Right. Any questions about thyroid problems, Lamai? Okay. So primary so we go on the adrenal gland. Hypoadrenalism. Primary means gland fail vela, adrenal gland. And all of these are right, correct. TB can infiltrate the adrenal gland. There are adrenal metastasis in certain cancers. Post-pneumococcal infection, you can get adrenal insufficiency. There's a big name for that. Waterhouse-Friderichsen syndrome, Harry, that is a big thing. HIV, so all of these can cause adrenal insufficiency. But actually, what's common is an autoimmune adrenal failure, which is called Addison's disease. That's autoimmune adrenal failure. And remember, because it is an autoimmune disease, right, you get other autoimmune problems like vitiligo, like pernicious anemia, like ovarian failure, which is again an autoimmune process. Associated. Now, when you see, right, when you see Addison's disease, the classical features are hyperpigmentation, especially buccal pigmentation, mucosal pigmentation and tongue pigmentation is very important, because in dark skinned people, it is difficult to notice hyperpigmentation. I mean, Addison's is easy to diagnose. But here, it is difficult. And why is this color? Because of the high ACTH levels. That is the color. So dark pigmentation. ACTH and MSH කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. මේ දෙක වැඩි වෙනවා මේකේ. හරි. Okay. And how do they present? They often present with adrenal crisis. So when they have low sex steroid hormones, they have postural hypotension, hypoglycemia, right? And also, if you remember, a common electrolyte problem is hyponatremia with hyperkalemia. Hyponatremia with hyperkalemia. Now, we never look at X-rays in Addison's disease. I'm just showing you a nice picture. මෙතන මේ පේනවද පොඩ්ඩක් මේ නිකන් ආසාවට මේ කවදාකවත් අපි දකින්න දේ කොමඩි දකින්න දේවල් නෙවෙයි. Little bit of calcification here. When මෙතන මම point එක ගෙනියන තැන, these are adrenal calcifications. Sometimes in Addison's you can see adrenal calcifications on the X-ray. Sometimes. So this we talked about common laboratory findings. Hyponatremia, hyperkalemia is common. Hypoglycemia is common. They get a bit of acidosis එකක් එනවා. Okay, then අපි කැමති අහන්න අමුතු ඒවානේ අහන්නේ. එතකොට remember Addison's, they can have a bit of hypercalcemia and eosinophilia. Don't ask me why, but that is known to be associated. A bit of eosinophilia and a bit of hypercalcemia. one එක අමුතු MCQ වලට අහන කාරණා. Right. Right. So let's go back to this MCQ. Adrenal calcifications may be seen on the X-ray, may be seen, not very commonly, but you can sometimes see adrenal calcifications. Okay, good. Now, how do you confirm the diagnosis of Addison's disease or adrenal insufficiency in general? Well, the gold standard is to use the short synecton test. So you give synthetic ACTH so you can push the gland to produce more cortisol, right? If there is adrenal insufficiency, you can't. So short synecton test. But remember, if you're starting cortisol is more than 500. You got random random cortisol. If that's more than 500, they're extremely unlikely to have Addison's disease. Extremely unlikely. Screening test 9-AM cortisol. If their 9-AM cortisol is more than 500, exclude karanna puluwa. Less than 100, very likely adrenal insufficiency, right? Very likely. We short synecton godak useful borderline case 100 to 500, that range. ඒ ගණන් මතක තියාගත්තේ නැති වුණත් ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් concept. Remember the concept. So you can just do as a screening test, right? A screening test, the cortisol to see where you are. If cortisol is 600, 700,000, you can exclude adrenal insufficiency. But remember, cortisol is a normal QI can exclude karana beha, right? Cortisol is a normal QI can exclude karana beha. But if there are cutoff values, if you think it's less than 100, probably adrenal insufficient. More than 500, not adrenal insufficient. 100 to 5, right? So that's a different concept. Right? Management, as you know, is you need to educate them about this because they can die if they are not careful, and you need to replace the adrenal hormones. Now remember, adrenal hormones තියෙනවානේ තුනක්. Hydrocortisone තියෙනවා, mineralocorticoids තියෙනවා, glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, sex hormones. Hydrocortisone අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම replace කරන්න ඕනේ. Fludrocortisone, not always, right? Not always. If they don't respond to hydrocortisone, maybe. Because hydrocortisone also has a mineralocorticoid effect. So, dekama denna onne godak ayata. Samahara ayata fludrocortisone with add කරනවා. Right. Any questions? ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවද? Okay, right. So let's go to the last area for the day, Cushing's syndrome. Then Cushing's kind of podi introduction එකක් උගලට දෙන්න මෙන්න මෙහෙම. Right. All of you have seen Cushing's syndrome patients, obviously. All of you have seen Cushing syndrome. All of you know the clinical manifestations of Cushing syndrome. Right? So the first 4 MCQs are based on that. Now, Cushing syndrome, there are many causes. I'll come to that in a minute, right? Of those, Cushing's disease specifically, Cushing's caused by pituitary tumor, which are often microadenomas. මෙතන මොන ලොකු ලයිස්තුවක් තියෙනවා Cushing's වල systemic manifestations ළමයි. මේක අමතක වෙන අපි නිතර MCQ වලට අහන. හිතලා කියන්න පුළුවන් නේ අර පින්තූරේ මතක් වුණාම you remember a lot of things. But අමතක ඒවා ටික මම කියන්නම්. Proximal myopathy you might forget. That is a well-known manifestation of increased steroids. Even if you give steroids to the patient, they can have proximal myopathy, right? Oral steroid. And the other one is bone deterioration, osteoporosis, and fractures. That is another thing that you might forget. But other ones you can work out. Steroid ගත්තම් පිස්සු වෙන්න නටනවා ඊට මේට දුවනවා ඒ වගේ. හරි? And they have high hypertension, high glucose levels, and a whole load of other stuff. Right. Okay. දැන් මේක බලන්න පොඩ්ඩක්. මේක ගැඹුරට ඕනේ නෑ නිකන් බේසික් එක මම කියන්න. How do you investigate a person with Cushing's? හොඳට අහගන්න මේක. හොඳට අහගන්න. දැන් රෑ වෙලා බව ඇත්ත but හොඳට අහගන්න. When you have a patient with Cushing's, you first do a screening test. ලියාගන්න. Screening test. ඉස්සෙල්ලාම කරන්නේ අපි screening test එක. Now there are various screening tests in use. I have given you 3 examples. 3 examples. මොනවාද තුන? 24 urinary free cortisol, midnight salivary or plasma cortisol, dekama hari, salivary or plasma, and there is another one called the overnight dexamethasone suppression test. Overnight dexamethasone suppression test. What my screening test විදිහට අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Screening test විදිහට පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. Right. Following this, right? Following the screening test, you do a confirmatory test, which is called the low-dose dexamethasone suppression. So people who are positive for the screening test, you do an additional low-dose dexamethasone suppression test. ඒවා doses අනමන දැනගන්න ඕනේ. Once you have this, you have diagnosed Cushing's. Clinical plus screening plus low-dose dexamethasone තියෙනවා නම් that is Cushing's. No doubt. හරි. ඒතෙන්ට වෙනකම් පැහැදිලි කියලා මං හිතනවා. Right. Forget pseudo Cushing's. Don't worry about how to diagnose that. ඒකේ alcohol වලට එහෙම එන්න පුළුවන් pseudo Cushing's කියලා. ඒක complicated business එකක්. Don't worry about it. Okay. Now say somebody has Cushing's syndrome. You can broadly classify them into ACTH dependent Cushing syndrome and ACTH independent Cushing syndrome. I කියන්නම් Cushing syndrome, ACTH dependent Cushing syndrome, ACTH independent Cushing syndrome. ACTH dependent, මෙතන මේ ඉන්නේ අපි. ACTH dependent Cushing syndrome can be due to pituitary tumors secreting ACTH or ectopic ACTH secreting tumors. Ectopic ACTH secreting tumors. Okay. ACTH independent කියන්නේ මොනවද? Adrenal disease, which is producing steroids directly. Adrenal disease which is producing steroid directly. So the ACTH is suppressed. Or iatrogenic steroids, steroid intake. So when you take steroids from outside or your body tumor is producing steroids, what happens is the ACTH is low or suppressed. So investigation wise, අපිට ලේසි මෙහෙම classify කරගත්තා. So you screen them, low dose dexamethasone, confirm the Cushing's, and then ACTH high, ACTH low කියලා බෙදා ගන්නවා. හරිද? Right. Any questions from that? මම ඉතුරු ටිකට යන්න කලින්.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Devind.
Sir, මේ overnight dexamethasone suppression test එක දෙපාරක් කරන එකක් තියෙනවද? low dose එක කරන්නේ නැතිව එහෙම මොකක් හරි එකක් තියෙනවද?
Overnight dexamethasone දෙපාරක් කරන එකක්.
instead of doing the
there are slight variations of this based on center protocol clinical practice එකන වෙනස් වෙනවා. එහෙම එකක් දන්නවා කියන්නේ නා.
so එතකොට ලංකාවේ දැන් අපි මෙහි කරන්නේ මොකද ඕනයිට් එක කරලාද low dose එක කරන්නේ?
ඔව් මෙමය සමහරවිට අපි low dose එක කරන්නේ නැති වෙන වෙලාවලුත් තියෙනවා. එහෙම තියෙනවා but හරි විදියට පොතේ විදිය තමයි මේ.
okay
ස්ක්‍රීන් කරලා ඊට පස්සේ low dose එකත් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කරනවා. පොතේ විදිහට එහෙම නොකරන පොඩි ෂෝට්කට් ක්‍රමත් තියෙනවා. ඒවා අපිට ඕනේ නැහැ නේද? හරි. okay right. ඒත් මෙහෙම තමයි අපි කරන්නේ. okay. Now the next thing to remember හරි. දැන් අපි MCQ එක පොඩ්ඩක් බලමු. දැන් මේ MCQ එකේ ගොඩක් දුරට අපි කතා කරා 18ද මේ. හරි. Now let's take the ACTH dependent ones. Then දෙකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ACTH dependent can be pituitary tumor or ectopic ACTH producing tumors. දැන් මම කියන්න යන්නේ මෙන්න මේ table එකේ තියෙනවා what are the unique features to ectopic ACTH producing tumors. ඒක MCQ වලට අහනවා. දැන් ඒ ටික බලමු. Right. The main thing here is these tumors produce loads of ACTH. Massive amounts of ACTH. Massive amounts of ACTH. That is one thing to remember. Massive amounts of ACTH. So, massively ගොඩක් හැදෙනවනේ. Compared to pituitary ACTH tumors, which produce a little bit of ACTH, ectopic හෝ ගාලා ACTH හැදෙනවා. කිසිම පොඩ්ඩක්වත් regulation එකක් නැහැ. පොඩ්ඩක්වත් නැහැ. So, ACTH පොඩ්ඩක්වත් regulation එකක් නැහැ. So, they are more pigmented. හරිද? Because they produce a lot of ACTH, they are more pigmented. More pigmented. Right. Remember, ectopic ACTH tumors are very aggressive. හැදුනා මාස 3කින් මැරුණා. මාස 6කින් මැරුණා. Right? Very, very rapidly enlarging and they kill very fast. So, even though, because of that, they do not have time to develop the Cushing's features. Cushing feature enna kalin මැරෙනවා. Because they are so rapid. Right? They are so rapid. Cushing's features enna kalin මැරෙනවා. So, they might have minimal Cushing's, classical Cushing's features. Minimal classical Cushing's features. They are rapid. Loads of ACTH are produced. Right? And they might have sort of certain specific symptoms as well, depending on the cancer. The carcinoid කියලා જાතියක් තියෙනවා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ACTH producing tumors වලින් carcinoid hormone උත් හැදෙනවා. ඒ වගේ. හරි ඒ වගේ වැඩි දැනගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. Okay, right. Another very, so Cushingoid features are apparent in the majority කියන එක වැරදි. They are minimal. Hyper because it's so fast. And they die before they can develop the Cushing's features. Hyperpigmentation is mild නෙවෙයි හොඳටම කන පැලෙන්න hyperpigmentation. That's massive ACTH. Another important difference is that they get a lot of electrolyte imbalances. Hypokalemia and alkalosis is very common. Right? Hyperkalemia and alkalosis is very common. Hypokalemia and alkalosis is very common. Compared to pituitary, ectopic හොඳට වෙනවා. ඒකට හේතුව අහන්න එපා. Slightly complicated. Right. Now the last thing is that ectopic ACTH secreting tumors have no regulation at all. කිසිම පාලනයක් නැහැ. කිසිම පාලනයක් නැහැ. Right? කිසිම පාලනයක් නැහැ. So anyway, they don't suppress with low dose, neither with high dose. Remember, certain proportion of pituitary can suppress with high dose. Can dose එක වැඩි කළා දුන්නාම ඔන්න suppress වෙන්න ගන්නවා. පොඩි regulation එකක් තියෙනවා එතන. So එතන ලියා ගන්න some pituitary, there's a proportion of pituitary ACTH producing tumors that do suppress the high dose. Low dose එක suppress වෙන්නේම නැහැ දෙකෙන් එකක්වත්. But high dose එකට සමහර pituitary එක suppress වෙනවා. Ectopic කීයටවත් suppress වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොකෙන්වත් low dose, high dose, whatever nonsense, it doesn't get suppressed. Right? And it doesn't respond to CRH stimulation. ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් සැර වැඩි. මතක තියාගන්න බැරි නම් ඒක උකට කලබල වෙන්න එපා. So it doesn't suppress with high dose, and if you give CRH උඩින් stimulate කරත් ඒත් මුකුත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. කිසිම control එකක් නැහැ. Right? The whole axis is dysregulated. There is no control. දැන් මේක බලන්න හරිද කියලා එතකොට මෙන්න මේක MCQ වලට නිතර අහන කෑල්ලක් යමයි. So ectopic case what are the sort of more specific features වගේ මේකේ. හරි? මොනවද කියන එක තේරුම් ගන්න. So more electrolyte abnormalities, minimal Cushing's, very deeply pigmented. And also very high ACTH and cortisol levels, and they don't get suppressed even with a high dose, and you can't do any sort of stimulation කරන්නත් බෑ, inhibition කරන්න බෑ, මොකක්වත් කරන්න බෑ. There is no regulation at all. Whereas pituitary can respond to CRH stimulation still, and can might be suppressed with high dose dexamethasone suppression. All right. Any questions? ඒ ටික පොඩ්ඩක් අමාරු දෙයක් මම කිව්වේ. බලන්නකෝ දැන් ප්‍රශ්න මොනවද තියෙනවද කියලා. Hi. So once you have done all of this, අපි screen කළා, low dose dexamethasone කරා, ACTH කරා, දැන් ලස්සනට අපි යනවා. So if your ACTH is high, then you do MRI scans අරක මේක. But remember, MRI can be normal in about 20% of patients who actually have a pituitary microadenoma. එතකොට අර ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඒ දවස්වල ගන්න sinus sampling ගන්න මම ඒව ගැන මම කතා කරන්නවත් යන්නේ. Those are high flow and stuff. හරි ඒවා කරනවා. But remember, some 20% of patients can have a normal MRI. ඒතර මේක පළවෙනි එකේ බොරු. හරි. Now moving on, දැන් දෙක තුන MCQ ටික අනිත් පැත්ත ගැන මේ ACTH low. ඒ කියන්නේ the adrenal gland is producing various things. And one of the things it produces is sex steroids. And a common presentation of these adrenal adenomas or cancers is they can cause virilization in females. That is a very famous presentation. You might have seen this in obstetrics and obstetric gynecology. Virilization. Somebody cancer hospital ගියාම දකින්න නැති මේ patient ලා adrenal එක virilize වෙලා එනවා. හරි. ඒ වගේ. And also they have elevated these sort of androgen metabolites like ketosteroids and DHEA sulfates in their urine and blood. හරි. ඒ ටික හරිනේ නේද? බලන්න දෙක තුන. So virilization එන්න පුළුවන්, and also ketosteroids in urine or blood, adrenal adenoma වල එනවා. Right. So how do you manage Cushing syndrome? Remember, unmanaged Cushing's has a very high mortality rate, and surgery is preferred, whatever the siddhiya. But remember, you can block the cortisol synthesis temporarily with medication. මේ drugs දෙක අනිවාර්යයෙන් මතක තියාගන්න. Metirapone, ketoconazole. මේ දෙක තමයි commonly used drugs දෙක. Metirapone, ketoconazole. Any questions about adrenal, like any Cushing's and Cushing's and Addison's adrenal? So we have finished almost half or more than half of endocrinology now. So pituitary problems ගැන කතා කරා මුලින්ම අපි hypopituitarism ගැන කතා කරා. Then thyroid hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, with a special emphasis on Graves' disease. And then we went on to adrenal gland disorders, Addison's disease, and Cushing syndrome. මේ best response MCQ ටික ඊගාව දවසක් කරාට පස්සේ කරමු. මොකද සමහර පොඩි overlap එකක් තියෙන නිසා. හරි ලබන හෙට essentially හෙට කරමු. පොඩි overlap එකක් තියෙනවා සමහර ඒවල. හෙට කරන්න තියෙන ඒවා කීපයක් තියෙනවා මෙතන එක. හරි. Right. Any questions ළමයි? අහන්නකෝ බලන්න දැන් භාගි ළඟයි. අනේ මම අර ඔයගොල්ලෝ අහන ප්‍රශ්න වලට උත්තර දාන්නම් අද හෙට දෙකේම. තව group එකේ දාන්න ප්‍රශ්න මම එතකොට පරණේවත් මම උත්තර දීලා ඇති තියෙන ඒවා නම් ආයෙ post කරන්න.
Sir, question 17 වල most common Cushing syndrome most commonly due to pituitary disease කියන එක වැරදිද?
කොතනද?
Question 17 වල
නෑ කුෂින් සිනෝ ගොඩක් කට iatrogenic. ඒ කියන්නේ common ම iatrogenic නේ steroids වලට. sorry ඒක මට මිස් වුණා.
So we can't use random serum cortisol as a screening test, no, sir.
No. So it has to be very specific midnight salivary cortisol or midnight cortisol levels. It's time based because cortisol levels rapidly fluctuate through the course of the day. At the night it's very low. So if at night it's high, midnight it's high, then that indicates that there is a problem. That's how you that's a rationale for doing it at night. Hari. Sarangan, is that okay then?
Yes, sir.
Sarangan, I'm just looking at the plan now. We will finish off endocrinology tomorrow. Okay, what is the next one that you want on Saturday? Because I'll have to put that paper up today.
Yes, after endocrinology, most of them wanted renal.
Renal. Okay, so let's do renal. Renal is usually a one-day business. We'll see. 1 day or 1.5.
Is there any topic that will take more than 1 day?
Now what we have done is cardiovascular, we have done respiratory, gastroenterology, hepatology, neurology, and we'll be finishing endocrinology tomorrow, right?
Yes.
So what's left now? Rheumatology, nephrology, hematology. Infection only a few that we have missed, like dengue and half a day thing, that is.
Okay.
Is that all? Or am I missing anything out?
toxicology වෙනම කරනවද?
toxicology එක MCQ එකක් අහනවා. මම ඒක වෙන දවසකට මොකට හරි අස්සකට ගහලා දෙන්න. infectious disease toxicology එක දවසක කරමුකෝ එතකොට හරි. ඒක කරන්න පුළුවන්. So of those actually all are sort of 1 day sort of things. 1 day, 1.5 day things maximum. And I think we can't take a lot of time also now. We have to finish it off somehow. So